welcome to our webinar on Find New Leaders for Your Community Outreach Endeavors. I'm Gabrielle Baumeyer, as Ginger said, president and co-founder of Reason to Race. We consult and train leaders in the nonprofit and for-profit sectors to maximize their community outreach efforts, such that their time, treasures, and talents are elevated and they get to be who they are for others and have others succeed around them as well. We've worked with companies and individuals to impact considerable social change, raising a collective $6 million for 400 local and international and national causes. So by no stretch of the imagination did we at Reason to Race do this alone. We were only able to do this because we were able to empower and lift up people around us to be who they're called to be, and that is leaders who make social change happen in the world. And so we know inherently that people are capable of doing this, and we know that people have barriers to expressing their leadership. So because we know every company and nonprofit is made up of individuals, that's where we look. We look to individuals like you to elevate you by elevating others. So I've been a student of leadership and development and team performance for about 22 years, and I've discovered one key thing, and that is that leadership only arises when there's a path that allows for it to happen. If that path is missing, it doesn't have a chance to show up or arise. So today we're going to explore if you, yes, you looking at me, listening to me, if you do or do not let leadership arise around you. Are you ready? Tell me in the chat. Yes, I got some thumbs up. Grace, thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to set the stage a little bit and then go into the agenda items. So today's webinar is designed to challenge your thinking about leadership. And oftentimes we think that leaders have a certain gene or they have a certain trait. We think that they're born that way, as a matter of fact. And I'm asking you to consider that that's not the case. I'd like you to try on the idea that the development or opportunities for leadership is a function of two things. It's not just a function of one thing. So yes, it's partly a function of the mentee, so the person who's being called to leadership, but more important, it's a function of the mentor, and that's the person that's looking for leadership to arise in their organization. So again, it's a function of two things, not only the mentee, but it's a function of the mentor. And today, we're going to have you take off your blinders, okay? And we're going to have a unique conversation to see how you do or do not let those succeed around you. Now, I know that you have people succeed around you. If you're on this webinar, it's a given. If you know Ginger, if you know me, we know that you have people succeed around you. But we're going to deepen the conversation to see at what level you can maximize that even more. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's go into the agenda items here. So first, we're going to talk about the current context of leadership. So again, usually we think that leaders they're born with something, they have a certain trait, they're just, they came out of the womb like that. And again, it's just not the case, but a lot of times the leaders are sometimes they're easy to spot. Okay, so just like on this image here, the red block that's standing up there, it's the person that stands out in the crowd and they're easy to pick out. So we'll have a brief conversation about that and what you already know about leadership. And then we're going to do an exercise, and that's where you want to have your piece of paper ready for you. We'll do an exercise on recognizing leaders. How do you know they're there? How do you see potential leaders? How do you know who has what qualities that are going to make a project go or not? And then we're going to have a discussion on community outreach. So I'll share with you specifically a couple of case studies where a couple of organizations pulled together projects that had a new level of ownership and a new level of leadership arise within their organization. And quite frankly, their people were unrecognizable to them after they did it because they just didn't know what their people were capable of doing until they created a project such that they were able to impact a community at new levels. So I have a question that just came in on the chat. So we try, but we seem to have a burnout rate. Yep. So working on how to deal with that, and it's a common issue, cancer charities. Yeah. So Terry, you're pointing to the Like you have these star performers come in and then they kind of disappear, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's not only in the nonprofit industry, it's in the for-profit sector as well, for sure. And go ahead and keep putting questions in the comments. And then Ginger, if there's a question that I need to address, rather quickly, just chime in and let me know. Okay, so let's go into, this is the part where you're going to talk. So be ready to take yourself off mute. So I want to know from you, what's the current leadership context? So what do you already know about leadership? How do you relate to it? What do you know is pretty much a consistent case? You might look at yourself to answer that question. You might look at colleagues, but what do you already know about it? You take yourself off mute, let me know. Can people take themselves off mute?
Take myself off.
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, it's just, okay, I'm 62 years old, and I think that leadership, from what I viewed as a younger person to now, has really changed. And I think the principles always that work are it, but I feel like we do things more by committee rather than sort of a down the pipeline, this is what we're going to do kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I see pros and cons in either. And so I think it's interesting looking at how to bring leadership roles forward in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be relative, but also super crazy effective.
Great. Awesome. Okay, one other person. What do you already know? What's your current experience of it? What are you seeing? Maybe even how, like what Terry said, how it's changing over time. Give me a bit of feedback.
Okay, similar to Terry, I'm a little older, and I think that that you need a variety of skill sets, and I guess it's kind of intuition in your leader, so that it's kind of like you've got to build a leadership team as well as you build a whole processing team. And I think, like she said, probably 50 years ago, the president of the company was the leader or whatever, and everybody did what he said, and he may or may not take advice. But there's too many variables, there's too many age differences. And I think another problem is the younger folks coming into the workforce may or may not even want leadership. They want the paycheck, they want some benefits, they're looking for a different kind of work experience.
Right.
That blows my mind away. I'll work for it 24 hours a day. I mean, yeah, we'll get it done, where they want. So that is kind of hard, I think, in the current environment that we're working now. And now with COVID, I'm really really interested to see what's going to happen. Leadership
so June, it's kind of like especially in COVID, the cream of the crop will rise to the top kind of thing.
Yeah, I used to say that all the time. Remember, I tell my daughter, remember, you're the cream of the crop.
There you go.
So
that's a good mom for you. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so you might have some version of that. I do invite you to just kind of on the side of your paper there, just kind of jot down a couple of things if they resonated for you or what you kind of know already is leadership. And so we'll move on to the next slide here. So we are going to do the exercise I mentioned earlier. So you definitely want to have your pad of paper out. So let me know that you're ready with that. So just give me a quick little yes on the chat there, ready to go, ready for the exercise. Give me a little feedback. If I were in person, I'd be able to see you actually with your pieces of paper. Okay.
Ready.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. All right, so you're going to, in this exercise, you're going to draw a line right down the middle of the page. So you can turn it so it's landscape, or you can, leave it portrait, that's fine. So turn it over so you can draw a line right in the middle. And then on the left side of the page, I want you to pick two people, and these are current leaders. So these are people who are already in your organization or kind of in your sphere of influence. You might already be doing projects with them at work or what have you. Whether you're nonprofit, for-profit, you work with a team of people at whatever level. So I want you to write down two people's names. So two people who are usually ones who step up. Ginger, I want you doing this one as well. So go for it, please. So two current leaders. So write down two names, and I'm just going to give you some example names just for exercise content here. So you put down Sally and Tom. Nobody's going to see this piece of paper. I'm not looking over your shoulder. Don't worry about it. This is for your own internal views. So does everybody have their two names? Tell me on the chat. If I get a few yeses coming in, then I'll know you're good. I think there's a delay in when I see the yeses. Okay, yeah, there's definitely a delay. All right, now I want you to, I want you to pick 2 or 3 things that you say about each of these people. So I have 6 bullets there, so you might do 3 and 3, you might be 2 and 4, but at least 2 things about each person. So what do you say about Sally? Now this is in the context of leadership. So you wrote down Sally's a leader, Tom is a leader. What do you say about them? What are their characteristics? What are their qualities? And I'm gonna just put down a couple of examples here, okay? So for Sally, I might say that she's decisive, she's a people person, she gets the job done. And for Tom, I might describe him as powerful, timely, he's someone who steps up. So again, in the context of leadership, what are some adjectives you use to describe these people? Now, do me a favor and just like a couple people, just take yourselves off mute and just give me 2 or 3 adjectives. Just kind of shout them out. You can put some on chat too. But what are some adjectives that you wrote down for your Sally and your Tom?
Gabrielle, focused.
Yep.
Listener, responds to the question asked, empowering.
Great. Excellent. All right. And then we have Teresa Price, connected. We got focused, decisive, listens, motivating. Yep.
I have a
Grace, yeah.
thorough, timely, stern.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Thorough,
Stern.
timely,
Okay, good. Good.
Can I share mine?
Yeah, Ruby?
Authentic, has integrity, responsible, and has a willingness.
Ooh, that's
a
good.
willingness.
Okay, excellent. All right, so you guys, you're good, right? You got them? Okay, excellent. All right, now on the right-hand side of the page, I want you to put down 2 potential leaders. So these are people that you see they have what it takes. They haven't quite taken the reins yet. You know that they're awesome. Maybe they hold back a little bit. I don't know. But 2 potential leaders, 2 people you see who are up and coming, or you just love them, okay? You just love them and you want them to just like be their best selves and you're just like their biggest cheerleader. Write down those 2 people and I will put mine down. So mine are David and Kim, okay? By the way, these are arbitrary names. Some people don't know me. They're like, which David and which Kim is she talking about? I'm not. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. They're just names. Olivia, I see you smiling. Okay, so now I want you to do the same thing, which is now say what you say about each of them. What are your adjectives to describe, in my case, David and Kim, who are on the potential leader side? And I'll put some examples. So David, I could say he's shy. Sometimes I say to myself, he just can't do it. Like he has what it takes, he just can't do it. He's a poor communicator. All right, David. And then for Kim, she just talks a lot. It's kind of like annoys me. She's just like a big old talker. She doesn't want the role. So June, this might be for you. Someone, they just don't want it. They're young, they're, they got other priorities and avoids conflict. All right, you know the drill. So give me just a couple people you can just shout out, or if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you, but give me some in the chat and give me some verbal as well. What did you say about those people on the right-hand side?
I'll say, my first person is knowledgeable, very much, tons of experience, and very thoughtful about decisions.
Okay.
My other person has all the credentials, but he is an idealist and wants perks and likes to work pretty much alone in a quiet room.
Yeah. Ooh, works alone. Lone Ranger. I know that one. Yeah. I have been that one. I fight that one myself. So I got that one. Okay, good. And then we got, so Michael doesn't believe in self. Okay, that's a good one. So I got someone on the right-hand side doesn't believe in himself. Yeah, Gita, we have respectful but straight. Jenny, hot-headed. Ooh, so she's got someone on the right who's hot-headed, gets frustrated and lets you know. Doesn't get frustrated in silence. It's actually verbal about it. And then Angelica, in their head, not a team player, doesn't see or acknowledges the difference they are. Yeah, okay, good. All right, excellent. Okay, you all had no problem coming up with the stuff on the right. Did you know that? You guys were like, you were quick on that one. Olivia's smiling again. Okay, so now that you have your sheet of paper and you have clearly indicated who your current leaders are, who your potential leaders are, what do you see right now? Just like glancing at the list, what's just kind of evident to you? You can put it in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you. What's evident to you as you see those two? Ginger, were you raising your hand? I couldn't tell.
Well, I kind of was. So mine was actually a little bit opposite. The current leaders, mine was, dependable, generous, willing, steps up. But then the potential leaders, I put, for one of them, outgoing, extroverted, influential. And the other one was inspiring, potential, has a lot of influence. And so they were all very positive things that I'm trying to capture, and just trying to get them to understand how well connected it would be if they were part of the get together.
Right. And so for you on that right-hand side, it could be some version of they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got all this going on and they're blind to it. And that falls in the category of they're frustrating to you. Like, yeah, you have all these positive things, but they ain't doing anything.
Yeah.
Like,
but
bang,
they'd be
bang, knock, knock,
perfect.
knock. Right. Okay, good. So that's something you notice. So what else do you know? Now that you look at these two lists, what do you see about it? Just kind of what's right there. All right, so then let me put on Libby. So leadership takes creation, molding, and to see they are a leader. Very good, Libby. Yeah, you can just see that right off the bat from the two lists. All right, so now I'm going to say something radical. Maybe it's not too radical, but so what you did right there was you just listed what you say about these two groups of people. You got your red group on the left, you got your blue group on the right. You just listed what you say about them. Now, what if you just shifted what you say about them, and maybe then they'll seem like leaders to you? Now watch. I'm going to have you take the names on the left and put them on the right, and take the names on the right and put them on the left. Watch. I had Sally and Tom on the left, and now I'm going to switch them. Now Sally goes over to the right, David and Kim go over to the left. I want you to literally do that on your piece of paper. So now let's just take the radical case of David is a decisive person, he's a people person, he gets the job done. And Kim, I say, is a powerful, timely leader, and she steps up. I literally just say different things about them. Sounds crazy, I know. Olivia, you saw something. I saw your face. What did you see when you switched the names? And then you started to describe each person according to the list that you had underneath their column.
I could just see how those things are like definitely true about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like really is bold and confident and a hard worker. And
Yeah.
like it's really clear.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you just change the adjectives and the way you talk about them, okay, because you could have literally listed a million quadrillion words about them, right? There is actually no limit. But you actually, when you had them over on the right-hand side and you had the 2 or 3 words that really shaped how they are for you. And when you move them over to the left, all you did was you changed what you're saying about them. And now all of a sudden they can be a different person with you. And Olivia, you did a great job of expressing that you actually have evidence that she is those 3 things. You actually already do have evidence. Now, for some of you, it might be really hard. So June, you put your people on the right, on the left, and June, you might be like, yeah, I don't think so, Gabrielle.
One maybe.
Yeah, like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So for my example, I mean, June, I don't know the people's names, and that's okay. So you're David. It's like, wait, my David is not decisive. I don't think you understand Gabrielle. I can say it all day long, but he's actually not. And the radical thing that I'm now suggesting to you is start looking for evidence that he is.
It's an attitude change.
It's a conversation change.
With them.
Yeah, with you first, though, June. You start to say different things and start to look for the evidence that they are that, you will be surprised.
Yeah.
Get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All we did here was you listed people in certain columns. Now you can see that what you're saying about those people, especially the ones that you had on the right, it can be limiting in how they are for you. And if you now start to say different things about them and look for evidence that those things are true, they'll start to seem different to you. Now, if you're having so here's something I'm not saying that you should do, okay? Now, don't go to work with David on making him a decisive person, okay? June, I'm kind of using you as an example here. And you don't want to just like, okay, I'm not going to talk about David as if he's decisive. And I really know he's not, so we're going to go work on his being decisive. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I'm saying that you want to, as a leader in your organization, create an environment where these new things that now describe David and Kim can surface. And you can create projects where their leadership qualities and capabilities rise up. They just haven't been evident until now, but I promise you that they're there. So what else do you have to say about this exercise on recognizing leadership or recognizing leaders? What do you say? What can you now see? Ruby, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
What I really see is that, people aren't fixed. And the way we listen to them is how they show up. So I was looking at the two people who I didn't think was leaders. And when I put them in the other list, I'm like, no, they're all these two. I just didn't see them before.
Yeah.
Right?
And they can't, because you have, for lack of a better word, limited how you describe them and how you talk about them, they can only be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was so powerful.
Later, if we open the environment to
Very good, June. Very good.
Fantastic. I mean, it says that we hired well.
You hired excellently.
Really. I mean, that's wonderful.
The title of this webinar is Find New Leaders.
Yeah.
To head up your community endeavors. Guess what? It doesn't mean you go find 15 new people.
Right.
It means go to your 15 people and start to have them be leaders with you as a function of who you are and what you say about them. And then as a function of the projects that you create around them that allow those qualities to actually arise. You already have the key people, everybody. You already have them. Promise. They're just waiting. They're waiting for that opportune moment to shine.
Gabrielle?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this is Cheryl. So just curious, so when you say as a function of, would you elaborate on that just a bit?
Remember I said at the beginning you have leadership it's a function of two things, the mentee, the person who's developing and growing, and then it's of the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking from the mentor category.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a mentor, if you create an environment where people can grow, where people can communicate, where people can come and walk into your office and tell you anything, and people can express their ideas, do you think they'll start expressing their ideas?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's a function of the world that you create that allows people to show up in a different way. Does that make sense?
It does. And if they show up in a different way, then there will be different results.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for that clarifying question. Okay. Anything else? Anybody want to say? Let me see if you're on the chat here. Our thoughts, so this is from Angelica, our thoughts sometimes they're not real. They only occur to us how we allow, thoughts to seem. Yeah, it's a big function. So June, how did you say it? A mind change, and I said, conversation change, which is your thought change. Okay, so now don't think that I'm saying, okay, now just talk differently about them and then everything will just be hunky-dory and they're totally going to, shift and change, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's now time to start to explore what kind of opportunities you give them and what kind of projects you give them to step into to have those qualities come into play. So now let's talk about community outreach. So I know some are nonprofits on this webinar, which is fabulous, okay, and some people are with companies, but let's just talk about a little bit about what you do in terms of your community outreach. So what do you do with your people? You might have, I don't know, a staff of 20 or 5 or 100 or whatnot, and you want to do something to impact the lives of others, okay, whether it's at a local level or at a global level, and you do whatever you do. So just tell me a little bit about what you already do and what your team participates in and kind of their experience of it. And it could be that you don't do anything and you can write down in the chat, we're not doing anything right now, especially during pandemic, or we weren't doing anything before pandemic. But tell me a little bit about that. And it could be just what you do with, you might just go volunteer. Just tell me what you do. And then also for you nonprofits, what do other people do with you to contribute and to participate and be a part of your mission? So tell me a little bit about that. Oh, Anna, she does children's ministries in her driveway. Wow. And then Grace, you have a performing arts nonprofit. We're preparing for our summer camp. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, and Grace, do you do that alone? Do you prepare that alone? Great. Yeah.
We have a team.
You have a team? Okay. Now, are there a couple of people on your team that you could say, wow, it'd be really great if they stepped up just a little bit more?
Yeah.
She says it wide-eyed. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Anybody else? So you work with a company or you have a team of people and you guys are doing certain things? June, we have a day program for adults with disability. Yeah. Yes, home place of Texas. We love you. We love you. Okay, awesome. Awesome. So here's my point in having this part of the conversation, and that is what we found is when you give your teams of people ways to stretch who they are, and you give them a big enough project, and I'm not saying big enough like there's a lot to do, because there's a difference between doing just for the sake of doing, but I'm talking about the opportunity of a project to make a big impact. And when it's really important to them, they'll take it on at a new level and their leadership qualities and abilities will start to shine. When you start to create projects that are really important to people, they will step into them. And being decisive or being powerful or being timely just doesn't even end up, it's just like it naturally starts to happen for people. And I want to share with you a couple of case studies where this was very, very evident. So we were approached by a Members Choice Credit Union. We'd known them in the community and they wanted to do a community outreach project where they involved their staff in doing it. They've never done anything to this level. And we created a project with them. It was a bowling project, okay? So it was a project where they were all gonna bowl, but they were gonna bowl in honor of 5 different nonprofits. And you can see on the slide here on the left-hand side. So what they did was they created 5 different team leaders and they let people just step up by asking them which charities are important to you. And they did a bit of a survey and they started to have conversations with people like this. What's important to you? And then they found out, and after it all kind of fleshed out, they found that these 5 charities were important to their staff. So they created a community outreach project, which was all about impacting these charities. But they were bowling as a kind of a fun team building event. They were bowling in honor of these charities. And each person who was bowling made a fundraising campaign that was specific to their chosen cause. and they ended up raising over $17,000 for these nonprofits collectively. Now, here's a story. Ruby's clapping. That's great. I know, it's really awesome. They did a great job. So here's a unique thing about it. I'll share a specific story with you. So one of the team leaders that was who was leading the team that was all about animals. Okay. So remember, they did a survey and they found out, hey, animals really important. So there was a lady who worked kind of in the back office. I think she maybe in like accounts receivable or payable. She worked in the back office. She stepped up and she said, I'm going to be the team leader for the dog charity. And the leadership of the Members' Choice said to me, it's like, wow, she really went to town on this thing. Like she like really stepped up. And we started to see qualities in her that were just, we always knew they were there, but they just hadn't created an opportunity for her to shine yet. And I said, wow, we had a little bit of doubt. We didn't know how this was going to go with everybody. And I looked her straight in the eye and said, I knew exactly how it was going to go because I know how your people are. I know that they're extraordinary. You just have to create an environment such that their being extraordinary can rise up. So similarly, we have another organization with whom we work as an energy company, and this was Cobalt International Energy, and they chose 4 nonprofits. And so we worked with them. They found their team leaders. They kind of became a little bit of a competitive group. And we said, look, this is all friendly competition. And it turned out that each of the team leaders, or how it fleshed out, is about every team raised about $10,000 because they had people from the teams that were cross-pollinating across departments, and they wanted to make sure that nobody was left behind. And so the people on the Cherish Our Children team made sure that the people on the Can Care team had enough people on the team. Like they were just, it started to bring out a camaraderie that they hadn't seen yet. And so I'll show you the example of their faces as well. And so you can see here, each one of the team members set up their fundraising campaign, and they ended up collectively raising about $40,000. And let me see, I have a message here from Grace. Do you think leadership arises when it's something on a passion? Absolutely, Grace, absolutely. And that's why I'm suggesting for you to start talking to people and asking them this simple question. You ready? Ready for a tip? You gotta get your piece of paper out. You ask them this question: what's important to you? Now, you know what they're gonna give you as the standard first 3 answers, right? Family, work. They're gonna give you that. And then I charge you to keep asking. Now, you could do something this crazy. You work with, I don't know, a team of 10 people, a team of 15 people, set out 15 minutes, every couple days, and go through and talk to each one of your people and just sit them down. You say, it's not a yearly review. This is not any kind of, I just want to get to know you. What's important to you? And then you might find out that Jamie, who's in the accounting department, who sits down the hall, you might find out that what's really important to her is her niece who lives in Kansas, who has come down with childhood cancer, and she's been, dealing with her sister and the family, and they're dealing with, what it is like to have a child with cancer. Then you find out that this woman is so passionate about cancer research, Terry, with IBC Network, okay? And then you find out who that person is at another level. And then it becomes, wow, what can we do as a company to impact that? Do you think Jamie is going to take a leadership role in that? And now she's young, June. She's only 22 years old. And now she's a leader of the organization.
Right, yeah.
I was listening, June. Yeah, so that's a great, I said, Teresa Price's great tip. Yeah, just ask them what's important to you. And when you ask that question, what's your job right at that moment? You ask them that question, what's your job?
Act on it.
Before that.
To listen.
Oh, well, yeah.
Listen. Zoop. Who are my talkers? Raise your hand. All right, I'm a talker. Listen. Listen. And find out what's in their hearts. You will be amazed. And let yourself be amazed too. Then all of a sudden you find out, man, I talked to David. That guy is really decisive. I mean, I thought he was just like such a flake, but man, When I asked him what's important to him, it was real clear. Homelessness, that's important to him. And you go, oh, I just didn't know he was that decisive. My goodness. Okay, so now I want to share with you how Members' Choice did it. So here's a lady, her name is Joy, okay? She's great, the name is completely accurate with this woman, okay? Her name is Joy, and she's an absolute joy. So Joy talked with us. So Joy is, I'm gonna get her title right. Joy is the VP of, let me make sure I got it right. Oh my goodness, I don't have it. Oh, there it is. She's the VP of Strategic Initiatives and Programs at Members' Choice, and she also does community outreach. So we sat down with her and we asked her this question. You ready? It's a key question. We asked her, what's important to you? And what she said is that they impact the community, that Members' Choice Credit Union be leaders in the community and show that they do the work to impact those causes around them, specifically in the Katy area, that's where they're located. She said, what's important to us is to be people who make an impact in our community. I said, okay, great. What do your people like to do? Do they like to do 5Ks? Do they like to bowl? And she goes, they love to bowl. And she got it right then and there. When we explained to her, look, you pick 5 team leaders, you do a little survey and find out what's important to your people and have them bowl for their favorite cause. There's no fundraising minimum. They can just do what they want. Give them a chance to shine. And she said, hey, that's a great idea. Now I show this little clip or this picture here for you because we took a video of her. We did a little 1 minute, 49 second video. And she speaks from her heart about how really surprised she was at how great this endeavor went and how she got to know her people at a different level. Now, before they could even implement this thing, she had to go to Randy, who's the president of the bank. And when I talked to Randy about it, he said, yeah, we're on board with doing this because we know our people are great. Like we know it, but we've never done anything to kind of test it out at a big level. I said, okay, great. So we keep on talking. And he says, yeah, I think we should do this. And then you know what I asked Randy?
What's important to you?
June has got this down, okay? So after we go through the whole meeting, then I looked straight at Randy and I said, now why don't you tell me what you really want? And then he really started to tell me what's in his heart and what's in his vision. And he wants every federal credit union to do what they did. And he wants to rally them and he wants to charge them to not only expand their own leadership, but to expand the leadership all around Katy. And I said, done deal, great. But if I hadn't asked him that question, I wouldn't have known that. And we were able to, in literally a 15-minute conversation, be able to hone in on what was really important to him, and that is the leadership of his people, and then expanding that out to the leadership of the community in general. Now, Terry, I want to get on the Members' Choice deal. Yeah, they're great people. So look, I want you to be able to hear from them, okay? So when you go to ourreasontorace.com website and you scroll down to the footer, there's a Get Involved section, and there's a button there, a link there on corporations. You can click through and find the videos to these two. I definitely encourage you to listen to them because Randy will leave you with a charge of, hey, look, just believe in your team and they will be miraculous. And he says it with complete conviction because that actually is what he knows and what he experienced. So it's really, really awesome that they did it. Ruby, I love it. Okay, so I would not be a good workshop leader if I did not give you homework. So are you ready for your homework? Grace is like, no, I gotta go, sorry, I'm done. Okay, so here is your homework. It's really, really radical, okay? I'm going to have you talk to the 2 people that you had originally put on the right and talk to them like that you eventually put on the left. And what question do you think I want you to ask them? Grace says, what's important to you? Yeah. And just get to know them at a different level. And you'll discover whatever you discover, okay? You probably may discover this, man, it's like, I really want to give them those adjectives that I had on the right, but now I really can't do it because now they're giving me some proof that there actually are the adjectives on the left. Gosh, dog it. I thought I was right. Maybe not, maybe not. So again, I'll point back to the title of the workshop was about finding new leaders, but really more accurately, it can be stated as start listening and saying things about your current people that have them be leaders and start interacting with them as such. You start doing that. You start first, you list what you're saying about them, then you start to say different things about them, and then you start to look for the evidence that that is actually true. If you don't see the evidence that it's true, start creating projects such that that evidence is very, very clear for you because it is there. Okay. Any questions about the homework? Let me see if who's on the... Okay, so Ruby said, so Anna, let me go back up there. What about when they haven't really expressed what their vision is? What kind of questions do you ask them? Okay, ask them, do you have a vision? Try it out. And then, you know what prompts people to share is when you share. So you know what my vision is? Now, I told you, I've been working in the training and development arena, leadership development for 22 years, okay? I've kind of become a sharer. And people are on this call know this, okay? And it motivates people and inspires people when you can share your vision and you share what's in your heart. It literally gives people permission to do the same. And if you create a safe space for them to do that, not like you're trying to get them anywhere or fix them or there's anything wrong. Like it really is just, hey, I want you to share what do you really want to accomplish in this world? You know, it's like we only have like this much time, all of us, right? And if you're a faithful person, it's like, hey, we all have God's talents and we all have God's gifts and we all have a purpose for being here. You know what my purpose is to have you be great so that you can have others be great around you. So you just start sharing with them what yours is. And you might even start the conversation like, you know what, I did this webinar and they're like, give me some homework and, you know, you can throw me under the bus. It's fine. It's all good. You really can. Point is just start opening up conversation. So then Ruby says, declare them as leaders, list them as leaders, and they will show up as so. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's a function of the mentor. The mentor is the one who calls people in. Okay, Terry. It has taken us a few years, but we finally have a good team, just need to grow. So good tips here. Yeah. Yeah. And you can have those people expand who they are because you already have a high performing team, Terry. And now what I'm charging you to do is take them to the next level. Anybody who's on this call right now, you're already a high performer and you already know high performers. If you didn't, you wouldn't be on this call. And so I'm just saying, all right, now here's another tool in your toolbox that you can take to have you expand as a performer and others around you. Okay, any other questions about the homework? Or
yeah, Gabrielle, I have a quick question.
Concerns about the homework? Yeah.
Yeah, Gabrielle, I have a quick question. This is Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I don't know if you remember, but you and I did a similar exercise to this a long time ago. And something that I found really, really helpful that before I asked other like leaders on my team this question, I did this exercise for myself. Like literally wrote my name down, what I was saying about myself. And I did that exercise and really just checking back in and what's important to me because I kind of lost sight of that along the way.
Yep.
And when I did that, so I went out and I started sharing with people, but I hadn't done that work myself. So it just was not disingenuous, but it just I wasn't as fully self-expressed as I could have been.
Right.
But like doing this exercise for myself, and I do this ongoingly, that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, good. Now, I love you said that, Cheryl, because did anybody put yourself on the left-hand side as a leader? It's fine if you did, or at least thought about it. You're like, well, I kind of go there, don't I? Yeah, sure. Well, that's what Cheryl's pointing to. It's like, yeah, do this on you. What do you say about you? gosh, if you all could get into my head and hear what I say about me, you would think that I'm not very nice person. Now, sometimes I'm all ego, okay? Don't get me wrong. The point is to notice what you're saying and notice when you say certain things that it gives you certain actions that then give you a certain result. And I'm saying, okay, now say something different, look for evidence of it, create some new actions, and maybe get a different result. Like June, you might have them youngsters at your organization just pop. They might just shine. And Olivia is a youngster, so she's saying, June, go for it. Go for it, June. Okay. All right. So now I want to hear from you a little bit more. We're about 10 minutes from our completion time here. So what are you taking away? Okay. What's your takeaway? What are you going to do now that you're looking at this list and you're going, wow, okay, okay, I got it. What's at least one or two things that you're going to now take away? What do you see for yourself? Because there's one thing to spend an hour and have a discussion. It's another thing to take the information and do something with it. So what are you now going to, Teresa, she's going to do the homework. Wow. Are you going to do it with both people? Maybe, maybe not. At least one. Oh, okay, great. She's like, I have a whole list. And they're all on Facebook. Or I have a whole list of people I could do this with. Okay, so what else? What are your kind of takeaways? What do you now see? What have you now discovered about yourself, perhaps? Give me some feedback. A couple people on the audio. Grace looks like she wants to say something, but she has to take herself off mute. Libby says, this will be great for me to do for myself. I know. Sometimes we're our toughest critic, right? Grace?
Well, I definitely agree with doing it on myself. And then also changing the perspective or changing the language.
Yeah, change the language. Yeah. Yeah, because you'll find that perspective is a function of your language. So it's great you caught yourself saying that. That's really perfect. Okay, one other person on the audio. You can take yourself off mute. Anna, she looks like she wants to say something. That's a bad thing about being on video. I can read your facial expressions.
You got me. Yes, this is great. It's a great reminder also of the potential that we could miss sometimes just because people don't function the same way that we do. And we're just like, okay, that I don't see that. But you really have to invest in your team to grow together. And I think vision is a huge thing. If you don't share the vision with your team, then there's no mission on it.
Right. Very good. Very good. Yeah, share. I told you, over all these years, I've become a sharer. Sometimes I'm a little stingy with it, but most of the time I'll share. Because I know it does motivate and inspire people. And because I want them to tell me what is going on in their lives. I actually am really interested. Because if they tell me, then I can be a part of fulfilling that with them in whatever way. I could give them a tip. You know, Cheryl says, yeah, years ago we had some conversation about, yeah. Because at some point I asked her what's important to you or some version of that. Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, does anybody else have a burning desire to share? Now that Anna and I have shared together, you're like, oh yeah, now I want to say this. Ginger, you look like you're smiling. You might want to say something.
I'm just really proud of Anna. She did good. I was going to give her the little clap emoticon, but I was afraid you were going to call on me. So here we go. I'm clapping, but that's for Anna.
Yeah, and so look, it's so great you said that, Ginger, because look, Anna, you stepped out to share something, and you now had Ginger get to experience herself as a bigger person. Because she invited you to this webinar, you took the time to be here, and now Ginger is elevated because of you, Anna. Yes. And I'm telling you, it's just a fun game to play. It's like have everybody around you just lift up. It's the best. Once I discovered it, I'm like, I'm hooked forever because I'm not successful unless people around me are successful. Doesn't compute for me. It doesn't work. And whenever I'm in a place where it's like, I kind of feel like, you know, because we all go there, right? It's like, you know, I'm kind of bummed. And I go, you know what? It's time for me to start talking to people and start remembering that I'm here to have other people around me be great. And then I just like start calling people, and then I'm like out of my funk. I don't stay there for very long unless I do stay there for very long, because that could happen too. Okay, so takeaways. All right, wonderful. So invitations for you. Ginger mentioned it. This is the second of 3 workshops. So the first workshop was on email management, getting everybody really efficient, and so they don't have to, be in the anxiety of email and time management. So then we got you better at that. And then time frees up so you can have leadership discussions. You can start talking to people, getting to know them at a different level, find out what's important to them. And then the third and final webinar workshop in the series is about using MailChimp to tell your powerful story. So now that you've created these great projects, you have these new people who are at the helm, start to tell people about that and start to inspire others. Now you'll notice that there's an Excel icon right there with the MailChimp icon. It's because those two go hand in hand. I've heard a lot that people have, like, they don't know Excel, and sometimes data manipulation and management is just like a pain, and you got data in Excel and you got to get it into MailChimp, and how do you do that? And then they go, yeah, that's going to be like a 10-hour project and I don't want to do it. And so we're going to get rid of that anxiety for you about using Excel and being, quote, bad at Excel. By the way, you just say that about yourself. You're not bad at it. You just do what you do. We get you good at that, and then teach you some tips and tricks in MailChimp so you can share your message with the world and inspire others to be the best selves as well. I lead these workshops obviously online, but I lead them in person as well. Here I am with a current client of ours with TAPS, and I did a board session, a fundraising session at Rice University. So I threw this picture up here to tell you that I love doing in-person workshops. So I can come in and work with all teams of people, from project implementation, launch and implementation, and getting the teams productive, making sure that people are stepping up because they have an environment to step up, fundraising workshops. I do all of those things. And so if you and your team are interested in a conversation about any or all of those things, then contact me, because we can schedule a 15-minute call and we can do basically like a little discovery. And then I'm going to ask you what's important to you regarding your team and your team's performance, and what you want to accomplish from here to, the next quarter or the next year, or your 5-year plan. And then we can talk about ways that I can help you make that happen. But call me this week. My schedule gets pretty full, and I want to put in, if you want to talk this week, definitely call me sooner rather than later. We can make that 15 minutes happen this week, or schedule it for next week as well. Questions. What questions do you have, or general comments, or just anything you want to say? This is my contact information. Please like us, go to our social media sites, follow us, all that good stuff. We want to stay in touch. I want to know the great things that you're doing in your communities and in your jobs. So let me see, email, webinar. Thank you for launching us forward. Great. Oh, the MailChimp registration link. Ginger's all kinds of efficient, like she said at the very beginning. So any other questions, comments, anything you just want to say or acknowledge? Or let's see, Ruby, could you lead one at a company? Absolutely. I'll talk to your manager at Transamerica. Yeah, I love coming in and doing live workshops with teams. We can do it, I guess, when we all get together again. I don't know, pandemic. But yeah, definitely, Ruby, contact me about that. Angelica, MailChimp is awesome. Yeah, thank you, Gabrielle. Libby, yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Now, if you like what you heard today and you are so inclined, I ask that you give me a LinkedIn recommendation. I use LinkedIn quite a bit, so if it calls to you and you want to give me a recommendation there, I'd super appreciate it. But let's connect on LinkedIn at minimum. Okay, let's see, anything else here? Okay, in June, I did the email workshop and using the tips. Yay! Love this and plan to attend the next one. Great info. Okay, awesome. Well, June, thank you so much. And look, thank you, June, for really being open to the idea that there's another way that you can talk about your people. Like, I'll say it's another perspective, but it's really a function of how you're talking about them to yourself and to others. Because by the way, when we start to like choose adjectives for people, then we kind of like get at the water cooler and we start to get everybody else in that little arena with us. And then we have this massive evidence that they are that way. Maybe not. So thank you for being open. Okay, any other questions, comments? Could we get the video from the email workshop, Jenny? But absolutely. It's actually, if you go to our Reason to Race website and you go down to the blog at the footer, If you go to blog, the video is posted on blog there. Okay, wonderful. All right, well, it is 10:59, and as Ginger said, we start on time, end on time. I appreciate you. I honor you. Thank you for everything that you're doing in our community. We love you, and I will see you on the next webinar. And I'll hang on for a little bit if you have any more questions. Thank you so much.